There was a time when mobile games felt magical, not because they had billion-dollar budgets, ray tracing, or battle passes every other week, but because somehow, against all odds, they managed to make you feel like you were carrying an actual RPG adventure in your pocket. And if you were around during the golden age of early smartphone gaming, there's a very high chance one name immediately comes to mind: Zenonia. For a lot of people, Zenonia wasn't just another mobile game. It was the mobile RPG. The one you stayed up late grinding. The one you secretly played during class. The one that made your phone battery cry for mercy. And somehow, even now in 2026, people are still talking about it. Not only talking about it, but genuinely getting excited over its arrival on Steam. Which honestly sounds insane if you think about it. How does a pixel art mobile RPG from over a decade ago still have this much love behind it? Why are people nostalgic for it? And more importantly, why does Zenonia still feel weirdly relevant in today's gaming landscape? Well, to understand that, you kinda have to understand what mobile gaming used to be. Back then, mobile gaming wasn't dominated by giant live service ecosystems yet. There were no endless login events screaming at you every second, no five different premium currencies, no autoplay systems playing the game for you while you stare at numbers going up. Most games were simple distractions, but Zenonia felt different. The moment you booted it up, it immediately felt closer to a handheld RPG than a mobile game. It had towns, dungeons, quests, gear progression, skill trees, boss fights, and actual exploration. It felt ambitious during a time when phones weren't exactly built for these kinds of experiences. And somehow, it worked. The combat especially stood out. It wasn't trying to be overly cinematic or complicated. It was fast, responsive, and grind heavy in the best way possible. You picked a class, learned your abilities, and slowly turned your character into an overpowered monster through pure effort. That gameplay loop was addicting. Kill enemies, farm loot, get stronger, fight harder bosses, repeat. Simple formula, timeless execution. What made Zenonia hit differently though was its atmosphere. There was the strange loneliness to the game. The music had this emotional, almost melancholic feeling to it, while the environments felt isolated yet adventurous. Even with its limitations, the world had personality. And honestly, that vibe is hard to replicate. A lot of modern mobile RPGs are technically bigger and more advanced, but they can kind of feel soulless sometimes. Zenonia, by comparison, felt handcrafted. Smaller in scale, maybe, but more personal. The pixel art also aged incredibly well. That's probably one of the biggest reasons people can still go back to Zenonia today without it feeling completely ancient. Older, low-budget 3D games often look rough years later, but good sprite work is timeless. In fact, Zenonia almost looks more appealing now because retro-inspired pixel art has become popular again through indie games. Younger players discovering it today doesn't necessarily see an old mobile game, they see a retro action RPG with charm. And that's a huge difference. But if there's one thing people truly miss about Zenonia, it's probably progression. Modern gaming, especially on mobile games, has become heavily optimized around convenience. Too convenient sometimes. Autoplay systems, instant rewards, progression skips, games practically begging you not to actually play them. Zenonia comes from an era where grinding was the game. You have to earn your levels, earn your gear, earn your progress, and weirdly enough, people miss that. There's something satisfying about slowly building your character over time through effort rather than through daily checklists and premium boosts. Zenonia respected the idea of the grind. Now, of course, the series wasn't perfect. Some entries became overly controversial, especially when monetization started creeping in harder over time. Fans have debated for years about which game was the peak of the franchise and which ones lost the original spirit. But even with those ups and downs, the identity of Zenonia remained strong enough for people to remember it. That says a lot, because the truth is, most mobile games disappear completely. Servers shut down, app support dies, phones stop supporting them, and eventually, they become lost media people vaguely remember from old YouTube videos. But Zenonia survived in gaming conversations. That nostalgia never fully went away. And now with the Steam release, it almost feels like the franchise is getting a second life. For longtime fans, this isn't just about replaying an old game. It's preservation. It's validation that these games mattered. A lot of early mobile titles were genuinely important to gaming history, but because they existed on phones, people didn't always treat them seriously. Bringing Zenonia to Steam puts it on a platform where RPG fans can properly revisit it and where newer players can finally experience what all the hype was about. And honestly, the timing makes sense. Right now, there's a growing exhaustion with overly aggressive live service design. People are starting to crave games that feel more straightforward again, more focused, more gameplay driven. Zenonia fits perfectly into that mood. It reminds people of a time when games didn't need to be endless forever platforms to feel meaningful. Sometimes all you needed was a cool class, a difficult dungeon, some rare loot, and a soundtrack that made the adventure feel bigger than it actually was. That's the magic Zenonia had, and maybe that's why people still care about it today. Not because it was perfect, not because it was revolutionary, but because for an entire generation of players, Zenonia proved that even a tiny mobile game could feel like a grand adventure. And honestly, that feeling never left. For more content like this and other updates down the line, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.